But the thing is, I hate to straddle between two different perspectives on this, but I kind of have to. On one hand, when you don't create this level of fear, concern, angst, the motivation to get people off their tuckuses to do something is just not there. I go back again to Y2K because I lived through it. We worked in it. I worked with Y2K remediation teams. So I was in the business. I was right there dealing with it, 25 years ago. But here's the thing. If people were not as afraid of what could happen when all those computer systems flipped from 99 to 00, if they weren't made fearful of that, I don't know that we wouldn't have been. I don't know if we wouldn't have been successful. We may not have been as successful as we were. I mean, lots of money, a lot of attention, a lot of energy went into preventing, the things that were more likely to occur. I mean, there were certain things that were sensationalized. There's just no way those things were going to happen. It was an exaggeration designed to just get people, to tune into the news. But at the same time, without that overreach, without that overstep, I don't know that the Y2K team that I worked with would have been properly funded and staffed. So I don't know. Maybe not.
I fully understand and appreciate that viewpoint, 100%. But I think there's something fundamentally different about Y2K versus the cyber security risks that we're seeing today, and that's the responsibility of the everyday user that's involved. Now,
that's true. But let's not miss the more fundamental difference. You see, with Y2K, there was a specific date. We have a deadline. There was a clear objective. We have to turn these 2-digit dates into 4-digit dates or scuttle these systems that, rely on the 2-digit dates. It was very, very clear when it needed to be done and what needed to be done. This is a very different situation. We have amorphous threats coming from countless different directions, and there's no one solution. And yes, like you mentioned, part of it is on the users. But even beyond the users, there is an infinite number of vectors that could be utilized to target some of these critical systems, which makes, frankly, some of this calamity howling even more credible than some of the things people said about Y2K.
I hear you with that. I disagree fundamentally, mainly because
Really?
Well, we know that what is the number one vector of attack when it comes to cybercrime and to hacking and to breaches?
Yeah, phishing, users, exploiting the human weakness. Exactly.
The everyday user, some of the very same business leaders that do not think cyber risk is very important to pay attention to.
They are part of the problem, no question.
They are part of the problem. And so when you take that and you marry that up with the idea that there's a catastrophe coming, there's not much you can do about it, the problem is systemic, you as an everyday user are going to hear those headlines and go, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, no, I take your point. I do. I take your point. But my point is really addressing a different side of it, though. And that's the side of why some people who are not as ambivalent also feel like it's hopeless. Because, again, how is the enemy going to attack? Who knows? Yes, will it probably have something to do with the vector that's used most often, which is getting an unwary privileged user to unwittingly give someone access? Obviously, that's the low-hanging fruit, but that's not the only way in, and that's not the only vector. It's the most common vector, and it's the one that certainly should not be tolerated in critical infrastructure systems on any scale, simply by eliminating the role and the connectivity that would create the sort of backdoor that a phishing malware introduced into a system could then produce. But that having been said, we still don't really know.